All right, folks. Long time no see. Back again, sir. They call me sir. This time I'm here with a guest, my buddy Matthew Reid, wedding videographer extraordinaire and host of the Culture and Legacy podcast.
What's going on?
Hey, Mr. Matthew, you want to introduce yourself to the folks?
Sure thing. My name is Matthew Reid, and like Sir said, I am a wedding videographer based out of Austin, Texas. I also have a podcast called the Culture and Legacy Podcast, where we're pretty much just trying to have conversations about life behind the scenes. Everybody's dealing with something, whether good or bad, and I just like to have a place where we can talk about those kinds of things. In my background as a wedding videographer, I do watch a lot of TV shows and a lot of movies, so I'm excited to talk about this one and just go back and forth on the things that we enjoy watching.
Fantastic, and I appreciate you joining me here today. So far as the format, if you've been listening, I actually going to change things up again, mostly because I like to take my time with editing, and the issue is if I record episodes that discuss movie news that is current, by the time I actually drop the episodes, that movie news is old. I'm actually just going to drop that whole segment. What I am going to do is introduce a new segment called My Movie Fix, or Your Movie Fix, or The Movie Fix segment.
Right.
The whole point of this podcast is me just getting my fix. You know, I like movies. I like talking about movies and didn't really have an outlet to do that. So what I thought going forward is each week we're going to have a segment where you drop your take, your that movie hot take or that movie, whatever that's been on your chest. This is giving you the outlet. So me and my guests each week are going to have a little section where we get our fix. We get to talk about that thing that's been bugging us, or that thing about that one movie that we hated that we, we never got to rant about except on Facebook, So that's this going to be our opportunity to do that. And then obviously we're going to have our recommendations section. And as you can see in the title for our full review, this week's movie is going to be Monster, playing now on Netflix. And of course, we're going to have our send-off at the end. So yeah, without further ado, Matthew, why don't you tell the people what your, get your fix, get your movie fix. What is that today?
Oh man, you gave me the stage on the fix because I can go down a rabbit hole on a lot of things, movies that I like. But I think in respect to this last year that we had, where a lot of places physically were closed, specifically movie theaters, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that movie theaters being closed was probably one of the best experiences that we could have had. And I say that because, I'm the type of person where I like my home. I like my home because my food is there in reach. I can pause a movie, like all these kinds of things. But I think it's, as a family man, it brought back the atmosphere of, hey, let's watch a movie together instead of let's just go to a movie, spend 2 hours sitting in this tight little spot, can't get up, can't talk, can't do anything, super uncomfortable. And so that's my fix, is that movie theaters being closed like they were was probably one of the best things that could have happened for people, and arguably even the movie industry, because they're able to get a lot more creative and be like people like Marvel that's putting out great TV shows and stuff now. And so it just allowed them to be more creative, which in the end, we as the consumers benefit from.
Yeah, I mean, I know initially you get a little bit of pushback from that because, I miss going to the movie theater.
Right.
And, that was something I was signed up for Movie Pass when it existed. And then I signed up for the AMC A-list. I was at the movies probably, 3 times a month back then. So, I understand that, but it's not necessarily too hot takey, because when I think about it, big picture, besides me personally not getting to go to see movies, and a lot of people do miss that communal experience, but it really has changed the landscape of how movies roll out, how movies are budgeted, how actors get paid. I mean, it really changed so much, because so many like Monster. It's just straight to Netflix. There's no theatrical release at all on this one. And so it just the landscape of how movies are delivered really changed. All these was the day and date releases where they come out on the streaming services and at a theater at the same time. That would have never happened. I mean, I remember when people were talking about it back before the pandemic, and they got so much pushback because people hated it. But now it's like that's the only way my movie's going to get seen. So yeah, let's do it. So yeah, so I mean, I fully understand that. Like I said, I do miss like I may even go to the theaters for Fast 9 because there's certain movies you just want to be around a group of people and all kind of feel that excitement together. But I'd say 8 out of 10 movies, it doesn't really matter. It's just you want to see how the film plays out. And if I can watch that in the comfort of my own home with my TV, with popcorn, I
Sure.
paid, $4 for a 20-pack box compared to $8 for a small, little bucket. I fully understand it. But yeah. My fix is a little different.
Let's hear it.
With all the Zack Snyder talk that's been going on lately, I have been seeing a whole lot of takes saying, about kind of ranking his movies and how the Snyder take of Justice League was the best thing he's ever made. And there's been a lot of Armageddon slander. And the whole reason I kind of thought this segment up, because that's my perfect opportunity to say Armageddon was a cinematic masterpiece. Armageddon, unironically, whatever. Armageddon is a good movie. I've watched that so many times. I thoroughly enjoy it. Between Deep Impact and Armageddon, the two twin movies or whatever. I love Armageddon. Deep Impact is fun, but I mean, so many people it's fun to bash on Armageddon. It's fun to say, oh, that was a terrible movie. It was so silly. Astronauts, drillers being trained as astronauts, blah, blah, blah. Of course, yes, but it's a movie at the end of the day, and it makes sense in the logic of the movie. I mean, it was emotional. It had moments that tugged at your heartstrings. There was action beats. Just that's why people kind of fell in love with the Zack Snyderisms between that and 300. He makes good movies. His filmography is full of actual good stuff, and I'm pushing back on the Armageddon slander where people are bashing it, saying it's not good. They love to hate it. You know what? No, I love to love it. I think it's a good movie, and I'm getting that off my chest. That's my take. I think Armageddon is a fantastic movie, unironically, and people should treat it that way.
So, okay, I mean, I feel like I can see it both ways. What are the things that like really grind you gears that people are saying like, oh man, that movie's absolute trash? Like, what are those things?
It's just when people talk about it's so stupid that they would train drillers to become astronauts. That doesn't make any. I mean, it's a movie, okay? It's a movie about an astronaut destroying. It's not supposed to be one-to-one, real life logic. It's supposed to be a fun action flick, and I don't think it's so stupid that you have to, turn your brain off to watch. I think you're just watching a movie where this so happens to be the logic, and there's an astronaut coming to destroy the Earth. You got a month, it's probably easier to train, drillers to just survive the trip up than it is to teach astronauts to. I don't know. It's a movie. But I don't know. I just hate the kind of eye roll people give it when they talk about it, and take it with a grain of salt when I say I like this movie. I just think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's an older movie, and some may just say, oh, it's just cliche or unrealistic. But I think even thinking about the movie that we're going to talk about today, I think people just can't relate to it. We don't know what it's like to to drill. We don't know what it's like to be astronaut. It's not part of everyday conversation. And I think that's a big part of why the movies that are popular now is because they are a little bit more relatable than that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just whenever I don't want to close my eyes, it takes you to a new level, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, that's our fixes. That's our first week of it. See how people like it. But I don't know. I think it's nice to have a chance just to get that take off your chest and rant. So that's right. My fix, But if anybody who slanders Armageddon in front of me, you know what you're getting now. All right, so let's move on to recommendations. Yeah. So Matthew, what do you recommend the people check out? What have you seen lately that you think the people should see?
So a show that I have been going back to, and it's not new, but it's still going on, is a show called Queen Sugar. I don't know if you
Okay.
heard of Queen
Yeah.
Sugar. Have you watched Queen Sugar?
No, I mean, I've seen it. It's one of those things that's aspirational. Oh, that's really good. I should watch that one day, but I never do. Never do.
I like it not just as a storyline because it's probably one of the most boring storylines you could have in a show. I don't know
Oh,
how it's I don't know how it's still going, just from the pure storyline perspective. But it's one of those where it either speaks to you or it doesn't. You relate, you enjoy it or you don't. And then I really enjoy just the cinematography of it as well. And that's one of the things I like about Monster Movie as well. Just the way it was filmed. I love a lot of the framings. I love the color grade. I love just the way that it told the story and then draws you into characters. I That's a show that I like. That's my recommendation. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It debuted on OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network,
yeah.
and it's one that I continue to go back to.
Yeah. I mean, I like, Tara from True Blood, Regina Wesley. So, I mean, I think I've seen one episode where it was just kind of slow, and I think the dad died, somebody died, and the kids had to kind of sort through the fallout of that. And I don't know, it just didn't, it didn't hook me. And it's one of those things where everybody says it's good, and I love, seeing all black cast, and it's like I should watch that, but I never do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and that's why it's a recommendation. It's not something that I say, oh, you have to watch it or else you haven't lived. It's not like that. I think if you see it, it's kind of like the show This Is Us, where like you
Mm.
could watch an episode or two or three, and you either like it or you don't. It's fine. If you like it, hit me up. We can talk about it all day. If not, stay out of my DMs.
Is that it? Or do you have something else you want to recommend?
Something else that I would recommend. I would recommend if I can go to an international show. I'm going to recommend the show Money Heist.
Oh, okay.
That's one that I wasn't sure what to expect. It took me a little bit to enjoy the show, but I think a show. This one's coming out of Spain. I that one drew me in.
Yes, that's another one where I saw the first. I think I might even watch the whole first season, or I think probably 6 or 7 episodes. But I didn't really get it. It's one of those. I think it's like 3 seasons in now or something like that. So I know something happens and people are hooked and blah blah blah. It's just I didn't kind of get the feel of what the show was. I guess I don't know. I don't really know how to phrase that, but just it didn't really sink its teeth into me to where something got to keep coming back to. Like I said, I know it gets good, and I know there's something to like about it, but I don't know. If I'm watching a heist show, I want Ocean's 11 stretched over 8 episodes or whatever. I want to see the planning, and I want to see clever people, and this show wasn't that. And the fact that on top of that it was foreign language, I had to watch subtitles. I'm just like this. I'm out. I'm out.
It made you uncomfortable, huh?
Yeah.
I will say, it's funny you bring up Ocean's 11. I feel like it had that planning element to it. It was just different. It was more psychological, and that's the person that I am. I like to watch something that challenges my mind. Like I may be weird. I like to think through how something's coming together as I'm watching it, and this could just be a difference in someone that prefers movies and everything starts and ends within an hour and a half, 2 hours, versus somebody that's like, I want to watch something week in, week out.
Mhm.
And that's more me, but it can be cheesy, but it's still entertaining. Money Heist.
Indeed. Okay. That's Queen. Where's Queen Sugar? Where can you watch it?
You could watch it. You could watch Queen Sugar on OWN, and I believe the earlier episodes are on Netflix as well.
Gotcha.
Either Netflix or Hulu. I want to say probably on Hulu. You can watch the first few seasons.
Okay. I'm a cord cutter, so everything I don't have cable, so everything I watch is Hulu, Netflix, I don't know, I've got 17 different streaming services, but yeah. And then Money Heist, of course, is on Netflix.
Right.
All right, my recommendations also come from Netflix. I'm one of those people that I don't know why I just called myself persons. I'm one of those people that I like the cooking shows, the challenge shows where I mean Netflix has like 15, 20 different shows that are all basically the same. There's some sort of competition where 10 people, they all whether it's a cooking show where they all try to cook the meal based off of whatever, or they all nailed it where they try to bake the cake. It's all they have like 10 different shows like that.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, my recommendations here are going to be actually have two, which are again pretty much the same. Blown Away and Forged in Fire. Those are my jams. Blown Away it's a competition show, but the competition is glass blowing. They're glass artists where they the challenges make something that evokes anger, make something that evokes cartoonishism, or something that makes you think, blah blah blah. So the 10 or so glass makers will, I mean, some of the art that these people come up with is just truly beautiful. I think that's my favorite part of the show is just watching the art that these people make. And the show is actually kind of disrespectful about it because there's like a 30-second clip where they show all 10 pieces and then they just kind of move on. But it's like, that's my favorite part is seeing what's possible,
Yeah, seeing what they pull together.
yeah, it's like how do you make this out of glass? It's really true. It's beautiful, like the stuff that they make, and you just kind of watch them. They got little helpers or whatever, but they're melting the sand or whatever. They're blowing the glass themselves. They're shaping it, and every now and then, they'll hit something too hard, and the glass will shatter, and they'll have to start, from scratch. And I don't know. I just like the creativity. I like people creating stuff, and I truly like with cooking. You can only tell so much. You just have to look at the judges' faces and they go, this is delicious, or oh, this is not that
Mm-hmm.
good, or and then maybe you can see where a cake, is shaped weird or whatever. It's not comes together. But with with glass blowing, you're looking at a piece of art. Some of these things are gigantic. They'll be hanging from the ceiling. Some of them are super small. It's just like
Yeah.
it's not subjective. You're not, well, I mean, it's still subjective, but it's not you looking at, some judge saying it's tasty or not. It's actually, you're looking at a 5-foot statue of a wine, a decanter or something. I don't know. I really just like seeing people make beautiful things. And so that's, then there are people with personalities and stuff. And, there's, you're rooting for people. And then there's the master guy that can make all the beautiful pieces. So yeah, so I've been talking for too long, but yeah, Blown Away.
Okay.
So it just didn't seem like something I would be interested in. Who cares, about glass blowing? But I don't know.
It's different. It's different from the norm. So it's
Yeah.
it pulls your emotion in a different way. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's just I really like the stuff people can make out of glass is truly I just didn't know and I don't know, it's beautiful. But yeah, my other thing is Forged in Fire, which again similar type show where you got a bunch of guys, except here they are actually forging weapons. They're forgers. Just these are two completely alien things to be, glass blowing and forging, but they actually, they stick the metal thing in the hot oven. Clearly, I'm not an expert. I don't know the proper words, but they stick it in the hot oven and they actually hit the steel with the hammer and shape it into the knives or the whatever weapon. There are a bunch of historical weapons that they make sometimes. Stuff that is just I don't know how they make it, and they have to add the thing to the thing, and then they have to carve the handles out of wood and make the handles, go on the thing, and then they test the knives out by chopping a pig carcass in half, or they have to somebody hits it against the barrel really hard to make sure the blade is strong, and every now and then a blade will break to pieces because they had microscopic chips that they stuff stuff that make it doesn't matter to me in my life or whatever, but it's awesome that these people it's just watching people who really know their craft, people who spend hours and forging steel weapons. It's not really an art that's used much these days other than people for like Renaissance fairs or people that you know, people that craft weapons just because people like to have weapons on the wall. Nobody's fighting with these weapons these days. So it's kind of a bit of a lost art. But, it just, again, it's just that window into a world that I know nothing about, and they make it interesting to watch. And I don't know, it's fun watching, the competition of it. Somebody gets sent home and they have to surrender their weapon because they didn't, make a good enough weapon or whatever. But I don't know, those are, is that something you would watch? Is that your deal? I know it's a very far away from Money Heist type of show.
No, I mean, I'm the type of person where, like, I go to the dentist and they, like, while they're in your mouth, they show you like Netflix and you could watch whatever. And usually I'll watch shows like this, or I started watching like a fitness competition show where like top personal trainers in the world take on like everyday women and train them through competitions and stuff. And I'm like addicted to that kind of stuff. So I feel like Blown Away is something that, when you just read what it's about, it doesn't really interest you, or at least it didn't really interest me. But now seeing that, you're into it, I'll check it out.
Yeah, like I say, I don't know. It's just that little 10 minutes at the end of the episode when they've all created their masterpiece, and the judge is like, well, this one, the toes don't quite look right. It's just, I don't know. It's awesome. So yeah, if you like those type of, I watched all the Master Chefs and the Master Chef Juniors, and I don't know, they know how to hook me in with a competition show, but these I really like these, and I recommend people check them out. So that is Blown Away and Forged in Fire on Netflix. You can check those out now. All right, so that's going to bring us to our full review. As you can see in the title, that is going to be Monster 2018.
What do you see when you look at me?
You ready for your test, right?
I study. Boy.
Images can tell a story. You have the opportunity here to move people.
Artist.
We came forward, running back.
All right, that was from the trailer for I guess Netflix I won't say Netflix original series, but the Netflix movie Monster. I guess it's a weird thing. It technically came out in 2021 because that's when Netflix launched it, but it was originally a Sundance film in 2018. I guess it's just been sitting on a shelf for a few years, and Netflix bought it up and decided to launch it in May. So just officially came out May of 2021, but it's existed, one form or another since 2018. But I actually never heard of this. Netflix does a terrible job at advertising what they put out and getting people to watch. I have no idea how that business model works because, the whole point of them charging $20+ a month is to get you to watch their stuff, but they don't tell you what their stuff is.
Right.
How do they get you to watch it, and how do they justify the 20 million or whatever they spend on the shows or whatever. So I don't know, but yeah, again, so I never actually heard of it until I was talking to you about what we should do. So how did this, how did you find this, or what sparked your interest in this, or how'd you come about choosing this one?
So as a as a videographer myself, just kind of looking through Netflix, like there's things that attract me to a kind of movie. And I think what it was about Monster was that, one, the main character, he had a movie background. He, as an actor, he was a filmmaker. And I think the story that it was, the whole premise of the movie was just something that caught on to me. Really a lot with just what's going on with our society now, and specifically the legal justice system. I don't know. I just wanted to give it a shot. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. Feedback was the reviews were mixed. People loved it. People hated it. So I'm like, okay, let me judge for myself. Let me see what I think. And watching it, my opinions are mixed as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know if Netflix suggested it, or you just scrolling. You see something like, oh, let me give it a shot. That was Monster. I'm glad it came up.
This is one of those things where I may have if you hadn't said something, I probably would have added it to my queue and
Right.
never got around to watching. Like there's that Anthony Anderson movie, I think Beatboxers or something like that, where I theoretically want to watch it, but there's just I don't, being black, there's only so many black trauma type movies you want to watch.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to, like I said, you want to watch Blown Away. You want to
Right.
watch a comedy show and have some fun. So this is. I watched the Nate Parker movie not too long ago, where they took over the police station because the cop killed his son. It's just there's that genre of movie where you know it's going to have something to say. It's probably going to be a decent movie, but just mentally, you got to kind of walk up a hill to find the time to actually sit down and watch it. But yeah, so I mean, all that aside, big picture speaking, what did you actually think of the movie? What are your thoughts on 2018/21's Monster?
So I think that first of all, it's I think to acknowledge, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, to acknowledge why did it take 3 years for this movie to actually be heard of, for it to hit Netflix? I don't know if it's because when you click on a movie, like it was part of the Black Lives Matter collection,
Yeah.
and so you don't know if like, okay, maybe it was like, oh, we need to bring on more movies that we could put in this collection, or what. I don't know, but I think overall, I enjoyed the story of the movie. I enjoyed it because, for one, the director, Anthony Mandler, he has a music video background, which was interesting going into directing, his first feature film. And I think a part of that is why it was able to be, it was about an hour and a half movie. So it's why it was able to be shorter, concise, and effective. The music, the score, the film was spectacular. It's overall, it was a movie that drew me in emotionally, intellectually, and real up until the end, had me questioning some things. I'm trying not to give too much away, but overall, I enjoyed it. But I was also skeptical throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. So for those that know nothing about it and just randomly started pressing play on this one, the movie is about a 17-year-old boy. He's on trial for murder. I don't know what the I forget what the actual legal statute is, but he doesn't actually. Nobody thinks he committed the murder. He's just a part. Basically, the storyline plot is he was the lookout guy. He went to the store. He told the people that were going to rob the store that the coast was clear. They went in to rob the store, ended up killing the clerk. So he's like guilty of murder by association. I forget the actual proper legal term is. So that he's on trial for that. And the story it's basically like when they start, you know that it's a bit fantastical because of the way the courtroom looks. It's so, it's black and white, very pretty, very artsy looking courtroom. It's not a realistic courtroom, but that's because when they first start the movie, he kind of, he speaks as the narrator. He says this opening shot, me in a jail cell, me transition kind of, as you're saying earlier, he's a filmmaker, so he's kind of describing the shots, the setup, and so it's going to be a movie told from his perspective as a filmmaker. So it's not going to be 100% true or whatever. So you go into the courtroom, it's real, like I said, it's real fantastical. All the lawyers are dressed to the nines, and and you're just kind of watching the story play out. And then intercut are scenes from real life as to kind of what happened leading up to this incident. And then the end movie is, obviously the end of the trial. So, so from that standpoint, I liked the kind of narration aspect of it, to where
Me too.
it's not just a legal drama. You're not legit watching courtroom drama. It's more, like I said, it's a little bit more fantastical because it's him telling his story as a filmmaker. So it's not supposed to be 100% true to life. And I really liked the way they did the courtroom and kind of, I don't know, I like those aspects of it. The actual movie itself, I mean, this is his first time doing a feature film, and you kind of felt that a bit. It didn't feel as tight as it could have been. Kind of some of the choices, I don't know. It didn't flow well. It felt really slow at parts to me, to where like it felt like this was going to be a longer movie than it actually ended up being. And some of the story choices I didn't quite understand. And the ending, obviously, I'm going to have some mixed feelings on. We'll talk about that in spoilers. But I mean, overall, I think it was a solid movie. I wouldn't call it a good movie. I think I call it important because I have a 2-year-old son and 2-year-old black son that, I mean, I feel like in 14 years, he can look like that kid. So part of me
Right.
was feeling that. And as a father, like I was just, before we started recording, I was telling Matthew here how my son's in that phase where he doesn't listen. You tell him to stop, don't go in the street, and he'll do it anyway. You tell him to, put that down. Don't dump those fries out. He doesn't care. Just do it. So there's that aspect of how do you teach a black child about not only just the regular being a good person and all that kind of stuff, but then there's that aspect of one day it's a possibility that the police might come knocking on my door, and there's just that extra layer of, because there's black, you're going to get that extra little the extra layer of police scrutiny, and you look the part and that kind of stuff. So you have to teach your son to be carefree, but also be a little more cautious. And so the whole time I'm watching that, there's that extra layer of it for me personally, just because of my life experience. And so I did appreciate that, but I feel like the actual story didn't do that many favors other than kind of calling it out. So like I am really kind of mixed on what I thought of the movie. I think it had something to say. I don't think it was executed as well as it could have been. I do think that the premise is good. I just feel like the execution wasn't as good as the premise led to believe, or whatever. I don't know. I'm feeling mixed. Put it like that.
I think also, I feel like we would be remiss to acknowledge two things. One, that this movie was based on a book. And so how it is when you're trying to make a movie off of a book, right? However you feel, whatever your opinion is about books turning into movies, there's a lot of information to try and put into a film. I think two is to acknowledge this the actors and actresses that were in this movie. It was quite the cast. I feel like you had ASAP Rocky, John David Washington, Jennifer Hudson, Jeffrey Wright. I think John Legend was one of the producers.
Yeah, this cast was, but the whole time, because I'm the type that doesn't watch. I don't want to watch the trailer. I don't want to watch read. I just want to know that I want to watch the movie. So when I'm watching this, I was like, hey, that kind of, is that Travis Scott? No, that's ASAP Rocky. And
yeah.
Then, 10 minutes. Oh, that's Jeffrey Wright, and that's Jennifer Hudson, and that's Nas. What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
How did I not know about this movie with all these people in it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, kind of speaking to your point of the delivery, and this is something that I liked and disliked. I felt that, with all of these characters, I felt like they really weren't all utilized very well. I would have expected something big, but that's also a reason why I did like it, because they didn't lean on their star power so much to overpower the film. Like you see something like the Fast and the Furious series, it's like no matter what happens, Vin Diesel is going to come out on top, and it's like, oh great, it can kind of spoil that. But I felt like this wasn't that way, despite the cast, despite whoever's there. I really did not know what was going to happen until the very end. And I wasn't drawn into the characters as who they are in real life, but I was really able to enjoy it from perspective of, let me just see what's going to happen.
Yeah. There's that. I like seeing black parents as good black parents. They're very supportive. They're successful. It's like that's not the default you see in Hollywood. So it's nice seeing that.
Yeah.
That kind of perspective. But then he had a public defender, and I thought that was kind of weird because his dad's like ad executive. It's like, so they live in a good house and a good neighborhood, and they clearly have some money just by the way they're shown. So why does he have a public defender? And then the public defender was like a Hollywoodized version. Cause I mean, they did kind of, sprinkle a little groundwork of saying that, oh yeah, this isn't my full caseload or whatever. But it's like a real life public defender's got way too many clients and they barely do any time for you. But she was just super supportive and nice, and I believe in you and I'm going to fight for you. And she actually did a really good job. So like I said, it's just that those weirdnesses that kind of made it not perfect for me.
Yeah. What's interesting on that point is, as someone that watches a lot of, kind of legal shows and, these kind of shows like that, they didn't go a lot into what her prep process was into it. Like the movie started off where, we're already in the courtroom, not realizing that, he was in jail for a year or so. Cause he got caught when he was 16 and he was 17 now in the movie. And, we know nothing about what that was, which, to your point, or I guess contradictory to that, is that it didn't feed into that. And I think that if it fed more into that legal system, then it would have felt just like another Black movie where a brother gets eaten up by the judicial system.
Yeah.
And we know how that plays out, but this didn't focus on that, which I think is something to accept.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so those are our overall thoughts. Like I said, this cast is bananas. You got A$AP Rocky. You got, so many, and just speaking for that a second, A$AP Rocky, he did really good as an actor. I mean, I know he's just, you take it with a grain of salt because he's just, playing, a brother from the block, so there's that, you don't have to stretch too hard to play that kind of role, but you see just like LeBron James or other stars, they're really stilted. You can tell that acting isn't just something very natural to him. And A$AP, you believed him 100%, and so he, like, I don't know if he, what kind of range he has, but in this movie, he believed him 100%,
Absolutely.
So he was perfect casting for this. And I don't feel like it was stunt casting because he was a celeb rapper. He actually was really good at this role. And then my favorite piece of casting, freaking John David Washington was in it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? I mean, I understand this is 2000. I guess it was filmed in 2017, so it's before he was John David Washington as he is now. But it's like, I just watched Tenet, and now this guy's playing. Like, what is going on with this cast?
Yeah.
So I thought that was amazing. But yeah, so those are my overall. Before we get to spoilers, anything else you want to say about the movie? Yeah, I think personally, I do recommend you check it. Like I said, it's a flawed movie. It's not perfect, but just this cast alone, I think you should check it out. But I do think it's a pretty good movie. It's got something to say, and like I said, I don't know. Like I said, again, it's not perfect, and it is one of those types of movies. But I do think it's pretty good. It's very artistic. The cinematography is great. The score is great. Cast is great. So put it in your queue. I think this is something you should check out.
Yeah, I'll say to further hit on the point of like who's this for. If you're kind of person that maybe you like documentaries, if you like films that are a little bit slower paced but have a building storyline, I think this is for you. I was watching it while I was folding laundry, and it was pleasant. It was something that I didn't have to have my eyes glued to because I was going to miss something. But it was something that, like, I mean, I think they did a good job, or I think Anthony Mandler did a good job of making the characters believable and something that you can just watch and enjoy. Like, I'm going to bring this book or this movie up to my book club, and I think this is something that maybe we can even go back and read the book and then watch the movie, and I think that good conversation could come from it. I think it's a great movie to be able to debate or to just listen to or to just enjoy and just dive in. If you are a deep movie critic, then yeah, you'll find some things from it. But if you purely just want to maybe change the pace of what you're used to watching, if you watch a lot of Blown Away, then this could be something that you can enjoy.
Fantastic. All right. So without further ado, we're going to hop into spoiler section starting now.
Uh-oh.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right. So spoiler bumper. So we are officially into the spoiler section now. And there's stuff I want to talk about throughout the movie, but we really got to get to the end. So for me, if you don't mind if I go first, the my biggest issue is the kind of unreliable narrator aspect. The vibe I got of the movie, because when the movie's getting going, she says, "Are you guilty?" He says, "How many people say they're not guilty, or I'm not guilty, I didn't do it?" And he's crying, and you believe that he's innocent of this crime, and he's just another black man being set up, and blah blah blah. You get to the end of the movie, and I mean, he's not a criminal per se, but he is guilty of the crime that they said he did.
He is guilty. And that's exactly that's a big point. Like, I was watching it, I told you privately, I think, but my wife was listening to in the background, and she came in at the very end for the verdict, and she was jumping around happy because he was innocent. I'm like, but he did it.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of the bigger picture, I guess, what the movie's kind of saying, because I feel like I knew he was going to be not guilty the way they kind of led up to it, because she was like, no matter what happens, we can retry and we can appeal and blah, 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 no matter what happens. So I feel like they're going to, they wouldn't be saying that unless he was going to be not guilty. So they said not guilty. Congratulations. He's so happy. I mean, he's really is a good kid. He was just barely kind of exposed to, that part of the block life, whatever. And he made a gangster friend, and his friend was like, just, go be just go. You don't have to be a part of this. Just go in there, let us know the closest clear, give us a signal, blah, blah, blah. And he does it. He lets them know the coast is clear. They go rob the store. He is a good kid. So part of, I guess, the movie's, part of what the movie is trying to say is that, even though he is guilty, he doesn't deserve to spend 40 years in prison because of that little, what he did. But at the same time, legally speaking, he was a part of the crime. He did participate. He was the lookout. Legally speaking, he was guilty. So I guess it's just kind of it's the actual message the movie is trying to send is kind of muddled a bit. And then B, earlier in the movie, just based on the movie you're watching and the narrator, delivering the movie the way that it was, you're led to believe he's innocent of the crime. He's being set up. And this is a movie about how that feels to be an innocent black man being blamed for a crime. But really, that's not the case, So my biggest issue is just kind of the weirdness of the mixed message that this movie is trying to send. But how'd you feel about that?
I think it's important to maybe clarify that when he came out of the store, I don't think he was intentionally giving a signal. I think he was legitimately just being an artist and playing with the light, like he said in the courtroom. But to anybody else, to the witness, to ASAP and Nas, or whatever their names were in the film, or not Nas,
Bobo?
Bobo, Bobo, and whoever ASAP's character was, they
King.
saw that King. They did see that as a signal, and I would have as well. And I think for that reason, he really was he was guilty, though it was not intentional. Like you said, he was a part of the crime. He was the lookout. He did go in. He came out, gave a signal, though unintentionally.
Well, so I'm gonna give pushback on that part, because the film cut at that part after he looks up at the light or whatever, but he still had to go get his bike. They still went in after him. So I don't know what happened after that, or if that was supposed to be the signal, or just him looking at the light. I feel like there may have been something else to it, because they took his bike. So somewhere in between him getting home or whatever, he still had to go get his bike. So I feel like some sort of signaling may have happened after, So
you don't think that because they had that witness that came and said, oh, he removed his hat and wiped his eyebrow or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they never said what the signal was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Bobo was clear about that when he was on the stand. He didn't know what the signal was supposed to be. That's Kingsman.
Yeah.
So there was no signal that was specified. But when he came out, when Steve Harmon came out, he gave a signal. Yeah. And I think that was a signal enough to be like, yes, like it's clear, which it was.
Gotcha. See, I didn't read that the same way you did. I read it as that may have, her saying that she interpreted that as the signal. That may not have been a signal, but there still could have been a signal. He could have just walked up and said the coast is clear. He could have,
True.
some that may not have been quote unquote the signal, but I didn't interpret that as him not being, he didn't tell him, because I feel like that's just where the camera cut. He still, still had to go back and get his bike. And at some point they did feel like the coast was clear enough to go do it. So I feel like something may have transpired after that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. And I mean, we also they could have left his bike and already met him across the street. To that point, the camera did cut. We don't know what happened between then and now. But I think, even thinking about how when he was walking up to the
Yeah.
bodega and he was saying something like, it was this amount of steps.
It's like 93 steps, something like that.
Something like that. 96, something like that. 93 steps. He said, I thought about this moment before a lot. I took 93 steps away from that corner at Madison. I didn't run away. And so he was aware of what was going down. And I don't know, man, if I was, when I think of, obviously, I don't even know if I want to say obviously he was innocent, because he was the narrator, and it's like we're listening to the person of the story that we're hearing and seeing. There could have been more to it, he's just painting himself as an innocent kid. We really don't know.
And I feel like that whole, you just don't understand what you're watching by the end of it, because like you're saying, you're getting a story from his perspective, and it's not just like something he wrote down in a notebook. You're not just reading his personal thoughts or whatever. They explicitly say it as if this is his film. This is the film version of what happened. So I don't know. You're getting, there's a lot of artistic license going on, put it like that. So it just feels weird what he's the message the movie's trying to send, and because, I mean, so let me try to clear up my statement. All that aside, is what he did worth 40 years? He didn't plan to rob the store. He didn't pull the trigger. He actually didn't get any money from the crime, but he's going to be doing life in prison, 40 years. He had a deal for 20 years. So I'm assuming the actual punishment would be, somewhere longer, life, whatever it is. But I mean, legally speaking, had he not gone in there, had he not, given the signal or not given whatever it is, had he not done that, then they would have acted differently. They may have waited longer, and because they may have waited longer, things may have turned out differently, or whatever it is. Legally speaking, he was a part of the crime, and the man did end up dead because of his actions. However big or small, he was a part of the crime that ended up with the man dead. That being said, he was found not guilty, and we're supposed to feel good about that. We're supposed to feel happy that he was not guilty for that crime. So I guess that's where the confusion, because honestly, as a black man, I was happy too. It's like, he messed up, but I'm glad he's not going to spend the rest of his life in jail,
Right.
But I'm sure there are a lot of people, with a different type of mindset that watched that and got upset. It was like, oh, he deserves it. He should be in jail. And, they showed the guy's family. They didn't explicitly say it, but I assume that was either his mother, his wife, or whoever walking away from the courtroom crying because their husband or brother, whatever, he's dead. So I'm sure had they watched this movie, they would be upset. They would say he deserves to go to prison because of what he did. So there's just that. I mean, maybe that's what the movie's trying to say. It's just trying to drop that out there and make you think and not really deliver a message. But I think for me personally, the biggest issue I had was the fact that they kind of explicitly led him to be innocent. And then that wasn't really the case.
Man, you said a lot there, man.
Yeah.
I think, man, I think so. I'll put it this way. The reason why I agree with his innocence is because from the start of his quote unquote relationship with King, he didn't know that it was leading to this. He was aware that he was in a gang, because he wore his bandanas, his colored bandanas all the time, whatever. but it escalated from, hey, take my picture playing basketball to, hey, go be my lookout. And so I think, and even like whenever they had that Dominican guy on the stand where he was saying that he was just
and that was the guy from what's the Ava DuVernay movie?
Oh yeah,
the way
they see us.
Yeah, The Way They See Us.
Yeah,
So I'm like, what is going on with this guy?
Yeah, I know. It was I loved it. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was entertaining in itself.
The
But
cast is bananas. Yeah,
you know, I think about what would I have done differently in that situation. You know,
yeah.
if Steve Harmon were to run away, what would that do to him? Does he know if King and Bobo would have chased him down, followed him to his house, and then it would have been a lot worse, you know?
Yeah.
He was overall, he was a man of innocence. He may not have known, you know, like, oh, you know, just go and see if anybody's inside. He didn't think someone was going to be shot. He may not have thought that someone was going to be robbed. He was just going in there to see if there's anybody in there. So he legitimately, his character was innocent. His actions were not. But I don't think his actions were ultimately his faults because he was being pressured by gang members.
I mean, that's the young, naive kid aspect of it, you
Right.
know, which
Can
is
you plead naive in the courtroom?
Yeah, that's my biggest issue about minors being, you know, they're quick to try a 15-year-old as an adult. But like, if you have sex with a 15-year-old, you're going to jail for being a statutory rapist, you know? So it's like, clearly, like, if I'm 33 years old, if a buddy of mine said, you know, go be the lookout, I'd be like, no, I got a family, I got kids. I don't care if you're mad at me. I'm not going to risk going to jail. You know, that's no. So, but he's a kid. He doesn't have the life experience. He's still figuring out who he is as a person. Like that kind of, his teacher alluded to that. He doesn't have his story yet. He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
So he just doesn't, he's naive because, you know, with the A$AP Rocky's King's character showing him like what's really going on the block and, you know, prostitutes and drug dealers. And he walks right past that, doesn't even see it. That's just, he's not of that world. He doesn't know it, you know? So just mentally, you can't try something like that as an adult because he's just not able to make those decisions. He understands the difference between right and wrong, but he's still a naive kid. You know, so that's my issue with trying kids as adults. But it's like I don't know. Like I said, technically, he's a part of the crime. You know,
He was
so
part of the crime.
I don't know. It's
If the movie had ended with him being guilty, I would have understood, and I think that would have probably been a little bit more believable the way that played out. I felt like, and even knowing my wife who responded, you know, with joy that he was innocent.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be innocent, regardless of how involved he was. I wanted him to be innocent because of the way that the movie portrayed him as an innocent character.
Yeah.
He was the narrator. He had a girlfriend. He had friends. He was a film student. Like, you just want to love Steve. He was a likable narrator.
Yeah, you don't want this kid's life to be ruined. You know?
Right. And, you know, even like to your point earlier, when you're talking about being a father to a 2-year-old boy, seeing that, you know, he could be wearing these shoes eventually. I was in a similar situation when I was that age of Steve Harmon. And I wanted him to be innocent because he was a black boy, and I felt like he had a future, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted him to be innocent, regardless of how involved he was. Because he didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, he didn't orchestrate the thing, but like you said, he was a part of the crime. Yeah. He was guilty, but I wanted him to be innocent more so than just what he did and how he portrayed himself.
See, on paper, theoretically, the criminal justice system is supposed to be for reform, you know, but realistically, if he would have gone to jail, his life would have been destroyed. I don't know if that's a fair term, but, you know, because even with the plea deal, it was 20 years. So let's say best case scenario of 30 years. He's 17 now. He gets out of jail at 50 years old, you know, no wife, no kids, no concept of what life is. You have to start from scratch. He could still leave a, happy life, I guess, at 50, but he's not gonna, his mom or dad might die over the course. He's got his
No high
brother
school diploma.
yeah, it's like the life you get out of jail at is, I don't know, like I said, that's, it, yeah. So that being said, this experience, what he just went through, that's gonna correct the shit out.
Yeah.
He's gonna, and on top of that, King's gone now because King's guilty. He for sure did it. So it's like the person he will be now is better for having gone through this experience, and theoretically, that's the point of the justice system. So I mean, finding him innocent still does the job that the legal system was theoretically supposed to do. So I'm rooting for him on that level, and like I said, I'm rooting for him because he's black.
Right.
There's so many of us that are innocent in jail right now. So many trumped up charges. So many racist people. So it's like there's part of you just wants to root for a black person because he's black. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So I guess it is. The message is muddled, and I guess the whole point of it was more to have these types of conversations. I don't think the ending necessarily. I feel like it did kind of come out on the side of this was a good thing. We're glad he's innocent, but like I said, it is kind of a bit muddled, and yeah. So I mean, overall, we're just kind of talking in circles because that ending just really kind of it changed a whole lot about how we felt about the movie in general. But I do think, like I said, it was very artistic leading up to it. I think the cinematography is great. The direction, a little more mixed, but I do think I enjoyed this movie, worth watching. Like I said, at this point, our thoughts on the ending and kind of how we felt. So overall, do you have any final going off thoughts about the movie? Anything else you want to tell the people?
I think, a underlying theme in the movie was finding your own truth to create a story. That was something that the teacher taught them in their film class. It's something that Steve was on a journey of seeing in just himself as growing up and finding himself as a man. And it's something that obviously in the courtroom was a big thing, is truth, finding your own truth, standing in your truth. That was a big thing. And I think that once the movie, as it was nearing its end, it's something that was just constantly reemphasized, and that really made you question, like, oh, maybe I don't know which way this is going. But I think something that you just said, where like it is a movie that you can watch and you can talk about, and ultimately, like, we find our own truth. We disagree on what happened once he left the bodega. At the end, it doesn't matter because he was truly found innocent. And so it's just something that I think about. I always watch a movie, something like this, and I think about how does this affect my life in real life. And I think it's just something important to just think about is standing in your truth, and finding your story. And it was cool to see how that started, and that was shown in different areas of the film, and then was also the overall message of the film, I felt like.
Yeah, it just, and kind of what you were saying, how this affects me. I think part of me just, you aspire to be the dad that he had. His dad was successful. He, like I said, I think he was working on an ad campaign. He clearly loved his family. He spent time with both kids. He had rapport. He knew what was going on with their school lives. I think for all, intents and purposes, that's a great dad, So he did everything he was supposed to do, but still something like this can happen, And if we're talking about a more realistic world, because honestly, when the scene that kind of you were referencing to about living your truth and all that kind of stuff, that scene didn't really land all that well with me when he was giving his testimony on the stand. I feel like
Right.
it just,
I agree. It was lame.
yeah, it didn't, the way they kind of led up to it, I thought he was gonna be more impactful or be more passionate. He just, no, I'm innocent. I didn't really know him, so it just seems a little bit too regular. So it's like, I feel like realistically speaking, that kid probably would have been found guilty, and
Yeah.
the dad doing everything right for all those years, providing for his family, financially, being supportive, having a loving wife and all that kind of stuff. And still your son is going to go to jail for 40 years for being a part of a murder. And that's just, that's devastating to me. So the real life kind of, how I felt that kind of impacted me is just being more more worried,
Yeah.
more fearful. What do you try to raise your kids the best you can. Tamir Rice, was 12. It's like, what do you, there's so many, I understand there's lots of, black, white kids, everything happens every day. And a lot of people live full, healthy lives and often be successful, blah, blah, blah. But part of that is fear, you kind of think about what your future is going to be like and how do you raise your family. So movies like this really make me think, really add that extra layer of, being a good father, husband, all that kind of stuff. So that affected me that way. So I did appreciate this movie for existing. And like I said, I do think it was impactful. I do think it had its moments. It was at the end, it was kind of a flawed movie, but yeah. So I think we both recommend it. We do think you should check it out, give it the opportunity. And again, it is Monster, available right now on Netflix. So that is the end of our review. Before we get to our send-off, where can people find you on the internet, Matthew?
Yeah, Instagram is the best spot to find me. You can follow me at Matthew Reid Films. That's technically it's my business Instagram, but I put all my personal life out there. Matthew Reid Films on Instagram. You can also see my website, MatthewReidFilms.com. If you or somebody you know is getting married, document that wedding, and I'd love to help do that for you. You can also check out my podcast, Culture and Legacy. You can go to cultureandlegacy.com, and you can find that anywhere you can find podcasts. You can listen to that.
You're in the Austin area, right?
Yes, I am in the Austin area, but I travel throughout Texas.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you're having a Texas wedding, need a videographer, check my man out. All right. And for me, My Movie Fix Pod on Twitter. Feel free to I only have like 7 followers. I need some more followers. If you're listening to me right now, follow me on Twitter. I appreciate it. And My Movie Fix Podcast at gmail.com. If you have questions, comments, concerns, if you have hate mail, if you love something, feel free to write in and I will appreciate it. All right. So that's going to take us to our send-off. So this portion of the podcast is just, we want to give the people something that we've experienced or something, an app or, something that brought us joy in our lives, and just give something to you for you to check out for your experience, non-movie related, just a piece of something to give you a little piece of joy in your world. So what is your send-off for the people, Matthew?
Right. I love this part of this podcast. My wife and I, we've been digging into this book called Atomic Habits. I listened to it on audiobook, but Atomic Habits, it's a great book focusing on essentially building habits over goals. One of the things that it says in the book is that success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. Mm-hmm. And, we think of, let's say New Year's resolutions is the big one. Oh, I'm going to lose weight or whatever. And by January 3rd, we've failed. And so just to focus on, thinking like a goal shouldn't just be to read a book. It should be to become a reader. A goal shouldn't be to run a marathon. It should be to become a runner, and those things happen through daily habits, not just goals. And so it's been an eye-opening book, helping me focus on, okay, what are my daily routine habits that are going to help shape me to be the person that I want to be, not just a goal that's unreachable. So it's a book that I would recommend, Atomic Habits.
Is that James Clear?
That is James Clear, yes.
All right, so that's Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. I'm definitely going to check that out. I appreciate that. I've been trying to do better in my life. So, I usually read nonfiction, but, every now and then when I usually read fiction, but every now and then when a good nonfiction book is recommended, I do just like to check it out. Just, help me better myself. I'm always looking forward to doing that because there are a lot of bad habits I would love to break. So I'm definitely going to check that out.
I feel that. Yeah, check it out.
All right. So my recommendation is, I don't know how to phrase this, but it is to give it a shot. I'll phrase it like that. That thing you've been on the fence about, you're not ready for, you're going to get to it one day, when you're more prepared, just give it a shot. I say that because I've been woodworking for, I don't know, years or whatever. I build random stuff. I built a bed here and there. I built a couple barn doors over time. But so I just randomly saw, I live in Texas, and my city was they're having a fireworks festival or whatever, where they have vendors and people can, bring their kids and a bunch of booze and food and stuff. So before that, I made a few cutting boards just, as something to do because I like making stuff and people, really, really liked them. So I said, you know what, let me sign up for this booth, see if I can sell some cutting boards at this, 4th of July Fest booth. And at the time when I said it, it was just it cost $80 to rent the square. I can invest $80 and we'll just kind of see what happens. It was just kind of something to do. And that was about 45 days ago. And since then, that aspect of my life is really, it's become a lot bigger. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
I'm just because to prepare, you're gonna need more boards. I've made some crosses, some artwork, and so I got my Instagram, Sirs Furniture, because I actually had a business a while back called Sirs Furniture, where it was actual furniture, but it just became too much to handle, more trouble than it was worth. So, but I still have the LLC and all that kind of stuff. So I said, let me just reuse the name, but I've gotten multiple orders of my cutting boards. I've taken my craft more seriously. I've done some really intricate designs that I didn't think I was capable of. And so it's, I'm not quitting my job anytime soon. It's not like, it's not my new thing, but it is, it's like a serious little side hustle. It's something that I have transformed from a hobby to a side business. And, it keeps me busy. It, focuses my mind. And like when I'm stressed or, when I just in my evening times, instead of watching something on TV that's completely forgettable or eating some junk food, I'm out there working and I'm building something and people truly appreciate what I made. And like, there's pride in my work, so it's, I don't know. I say all that came out of just a afternoon. Hey, why not kind of thing, it's $80, I might not sell anything. I probably, whatever, but why not give it a shot? And I did. And, since then it's kind of, it's an actual aspect of my life now. Yeah. So try something, just give it a shot. Even if and I was thinking of giving this as my send off on the next episode, because by the time that drops, I will have already had the event on the July 4th, but just in case it turns out terrible, I don't sell anything, everything falls apart.
Put it out there, man.
Yeah. I just wanted to give it now because it's about the journey, not necessarily the destination. So that's why I figured I'd say it now. So yeah, I recommend you try stuff and, fail or not, life's about the journey. It's about that experience. So I recommend you try things out. So
yeah, I think if I could feed off of that, one of my, I don't want to say it's a fear, but one of the things I don't want to do, I don't want to be 50 years old and look back and regret something that I didn't try. And so I think, by doing something at 33, if it fails, it fails. Now, on to the next thing. If it's a success, Sirs Furniture can be everywhere, like you never know until you do it. And so, if you can do it while, raising a 2-year-old, that says a lot. So yeah, I don't want anybody listening to this or either us to look back and regret something. So I like that. Just do it.
All right. And that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you very much, Matthew, for spending time with me today.
Thanks for having me.
I recommend everybody check out MatthewReidFilms.com and check out the Culture and Legacy podcast. So thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next time.
See you all.